Do you know that Japanese university students are the best in the world? In Japan, university students are 18 to 22 years old if they didn't fail the entrance examination or are in a very special situation. This surprises me from 2 points of view. One is Japanese university students are better than same age of young Kenyan and Ethiopian athletes. And second, nevertheless, top Japanese athletes cannot beat top Kenyan athletes and Ethiopian athletes so far. Anyway, do you know how many runners run half marathon under 64 minutes in your whole country? In only Japanese university students in 2025, not historically, but only in 1 year in 2025, 355 runners ran half marathon 64 minutes, meaning they run through a half marathon at approximately 3 minutes per kilometer pace. And 40 runners run under 1:01:35, meaning they run half marathon at under 2:55 per kilometer pace. Today, I want to tell you why Japanese young athletes are so strong and what you can learn from them. First of all, I want to explain the background, namely the culture and educational system. In Japan, doing sports as a member of a school is a part of education. And in the school system, very often runners train in a military style. Nowadays, society is changing and it's getting more and more laid-back style. But still, almost all strong teams have a military style, more or less. In the track and field, usually they start running at the age of 12 years old, twice a day from Monday to Friday, and once a day on Saturday. Of course, it depends on the team, but this is typical. Strong high school teams have the most military style in any category. If a team wants to be top 8 at the Japanese high school Ekiden championship, they need to live in a dormitory and dedicate everything for long distance running. By the way, Ekiden is a road relay, and for high school students, 7 runners run 42.195 km totally. Each session is 3 to 10K. Through this system, students learn to work hard, have discipline, team spirits, manner, etc. From my point of view, the biggest difference in Japan and other Western countries is that Japanese teachers want students to learn how to act as a team through sports, and Western teachers want students to be independent through sports. In other words, Japanese teachers want students learn how to delete personality and act as a team member, and Western teachers want students learn how to think and act by themselves and use freedom properly. This is the biggest difference. So, in most strong teams in Japan, there is no freedom. They train very seriously almost every day. As a result, about 700 high school runners run 5,000 meters under 15 minutes every year. In Japan, 3 years in a strong high school is one of the toughest times in the life. When the vice president of my company and I were high school students, we came from the same high school, by the way. We call the normal society the outside world, which means, of course, we were like in a jail. I also visited Iten in Kenya. Iten is a mecca of long distance running. Many world top athletes come from Iten and or train in Iten. But the atmosphere is very different. Kenyan athletes are so cheerful, happy, and lively. But in Japanese strong team, the atmosphere is so tense like a war field. There was no way to run away from athletics, training, race, etc. And in our high school days, there was still physical punishment. Now, Japanese society changes and there's no physical punishment anymore, but only in my company. Anyway, the way of thinking to sports for children is very different. For Japanese, sports for children are education and not for fun. So, by the time they become university students, they are already at a very high level because they are forced to train very seriously. And the second difference is, of course, history and culture. In Japan, baseball is definitely the most popular sport, and soccer or football is the second most popular sport. The third one is difficult to say. But most boys who are not good at sports but want to be good at sports come into long distance running because long distance running requires not many techniques but more gut. Actually, I'm one of them and we are not ashamed about it because at least we have gut and much better than doing no sport. Girls don't like weak boys, right? Anyway, Ekiden and marathon are probably the third popular sport in Japan, and those have 100 years history. 100 years ago, there were only baseball, Ekiden, marathon, and martial arts like judo, sumo, etc. So, Japanese people like and love marathon and Ekiden, and there are many coaches and teachers who wanted to be a coach in Ekiden and marathon team. Honestly speaking, my great-grandfather, meaning my father of grandfather, also ran an Ekiden race. 23 runners relayed 516 kilometers from Tokyo to Kyoto. But unfortunately, there is no clear record. We have only a very unclear black and white picture of him. Nobody in our family knows how fast he was, and of course, at that time, there was no professional runner. But anyway, Japan invented Ekiden before the USA invented atomic bomb, and Singapore and Malaysia got independent from the UK. If I say this way, you guys might understand how deep Japanese people are connected with Ekiden and marathon. Especially the Hakone Ekiden. The Hakone Ekiden is a gigantic sport event in Japan, and everybody knows the Hakone Ekiden in Japan. If you live in Japan and don't know the Hakone Ekiden, you are probably abducted by the North Korea in the last 50 years. The Hakone Ekiden started 102 years ago, and if you run the Hakone Ekiden, you are a hero of your hometown and your family. And if you create a good result at the Hakone Ekiden, you are going to get hired by the top companies like Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mitsubishi, etc. Meaning, you can keep running and earn good money. That's why a lot of foreigners say or write that there are approximately 500 professional runners in Japan, but it's half right and half wrong because they are office workers officially, or I would say blue collar. So again, they are like soldiers even though they have much more relaxed style than high school students. They earn clearly more than average workers because they work for top companies in Japan, but way less than top professional baseball players and us of my company warriors. In terms of the number of professional runners, it's the same as in other countries. Most developed countries have a few professional runners, right? Less than 10 professional runners. From this point of view, there are much more professional runners in Kenya and Ethiopia. But anyway, in Japan, if you are good at running, you'll get honor and a very solid job. Also, based on Japanese culture, people love to be stable so much. Working for big companies or the government is the best job for typical Japanese people. Rich men attract sexy and beautiful women. This equation is always same in any countries in this planet, no matter if it is in Germany, Kenya, Malaysia, Singapore, or in Japan. However, Japanese women love men who have a stable job more than in any other countries, as far as I know. Even though I am rich, since my job is very unstable, only women who have gut love me. Anyway, these factors are very important because men usually work hard and even could die for honor and women and children. And if you get nothing from long distance running, it's impossible that many people train as serious as we do now. At the end of the day, how strong a country is depends on the culture. Culture is a much bigger factor than a physical factor, meaning there is almost no difference between Japanese people and other people genetically speaking. If you guys get as much honor and good jobs, good stable salary as Japanese runners do, your country becomes one of the best long distance running country, although it takes at least 50 years. It takes at least 50 years that one new culture roots family. Other than culture, race distance is very important. What I mean is 3,000 meters is the longest distance for junior high school students. 5,000 meters in a track race and 10K in an Ekiden race is the longest distance for high school students, and approximately half marathon is the longest distance for university students. And full marathon is the longest distance for semi-professional runners. Meaning, they focus on running fast in a shorter distance and then try to extend the distance with the same pace later. This makes sense to me because for human beings, extending the distance is easier than running fast. Once you are able to run 3,000 meters under 9 minutes, it's not difficult to run full marathon around 2:20. While almost no amateur runners run 3,000 meters under 9 minutes, even though many amateur runners run full marathon under 3 hours. In the beginning of your running career, you better focus on more intensity and then increase the volume with the same intensity or slightly slower pace. This is easier way. That means junior high school students train like a sprinter? Absolutely no. Strong junior high school students train 11 times a week, and even if one running session is only 6K, it's already 66 kilometers a week. If they run a little bit more, it becomes 70K, 80K, 90K, even 100 kilometers a week easily. 6K is definitely not long for all of you readers, but they focus on more intensity and frequency. This is also important. Frequency. Frequency is also an important factor, instead of running long and slow in one running session. In strong high schools, most of them train 100 to 140 kilometers a week. They usually train around 12 times a week. Even if one running session is only 10K, 120K a week, and they can focus on intensity because one running session is not so long. And also, they train as a team. In strong universities, they train approximately 140K a week, 600 kilometers a month consistently, and often 200 to 250 kilometers a week in the summer vacation, again as a team. And also, the longest distance for junior high school students is 3,000 meters, and high school students. But it doesn't mean, but it doesn't mean that they focus on only 3,000 meters and 10K. Some of them focus on 1,500 meters in a track season, and then they focus on longer distance in an Ekiden season. It's interesting that many good marathoners come from middle distance world. I have a male friend who ran marathon 206, and he focused on 800 meters and 1,500 meters in his high school days. I also have a female friend who ran 2:18:59 full marathon, and she focused on 800 meters and 1,500 meters in her high school days too. Also, when I became a professional runner, 3 runners in our management came from middle distance world. They ran 2:08 to 2:06 before carbon shoes were invented. I don't think that you should focus on 1,500 meters, but it's clear that you need to focus on shorter distances in a part of the year. For example, in Japan, many marathon races are held from November to March. So, I often recommend runners focus on shorter distances from 3K to 10K from April to October, and then go for a half marathon or full marathon. Also, you need to understand that increasing the total running volume, and focusing on long runs is a completely different story. The easiest way of increasing the total running volume is increasing the frequency of running and the average distance of one running session. If you do this before you go for long runs, you can create a solid base for faster half marathon and full marathon. So, let me summarize what you can learn from good young Japanese runners. First, burn your desire strongly. You cannot change the culture of your country alone, but you can change your mind by yourself. Simply, as long as your desire is burning strongly, which culture you belong to, doesn't matter. Burn your desire strongly, have a high standard and high goal. Second, at least a half of the year, focus on shorter distances from 3K to 10K, or focus on shorter distances in the first 3 to 5 years of your running career, and then move to half marathon or full marathon. Because of the culture, the latter way is difficult for Japanese people, because marathon is so popular, and even if you run 10K under 35 minutes, people do not understand how great it is, and they don't praise you. That means you cannot get honor. So, I usually recommend amateur runners focus on shorter distances in the half of the year, meaning focusing on increasing the total distance of running, its average pace, and get used to much faster pace than marathon race pace. However, some of my Malaysian and Singaporean customers told me that the situation in Singapore and Malaysia is not so radical. Many runners focus on shorter distances, and if they run fast in shorter distances, they can get honor. In this case, it's easier to focus on shorter distances in the first 3 to 5 years. Also, the funny thing is that often athletes are told that the first marathon would be the fastest marathon. I don't know why they are told like that, but yes, many runners' first marathon is the fastest, and in my case, the second marathon is the fastest so far. I don't think that your first marathon would be the fastest, but I can say this clearly. The reason why Japanese young runners are very good at a half marathon and full marathon is they built the solid base for 6 years before they go for half marathon, and building the solid base for 10 years before they go for full marathon. So again, burn your desire strongly, focus on shorter distances in a part of the year or in the first 3 to 5 years of your career as a runner. Lastly, if you want to learn more about long distance running, please click the link below and download my free ebook, 3 Things You Should Know to Get Faster Dramatically Without Any Injuries and Overtraining. Thank you for your watching, and bye for now.
我は嵐し我が敵は我が身に潜む臆病像これに打ち勝つ我が筒は心に秘めたる国旗心国旗の心を持つ者はなどて恐るることやある鬼人に恥じぬ勇持ちて我らはいかん心して立つ時こそは今なるぞ人に遅れて恥かくないざま素直となるまでは走れや走れ者ともに滴る汗を光らせてなどてたゆとことやある白血戦に鉄より固き心持つ修繕この方すたれたる大和のこの今さらにまた世に譲る身の誉れ嵐しここに集いたり叩き心のいい鉄に嵐し魂あるものの時こそ来たれれいいか一歩も後に引くなかれいざま素直となるまでは走れや走れ者ともに滴る汗を光らせてなどてたゆのことやる前を望めば苦難なり右も左もまた苦難二空の月を見上げては七難八苦を望むのも 我らが力試すため常に前へと意地を見せん闘魂もゆる荒獅子の気をここに今見ようや人生意に感じては聖碑を誰かあげつらういざまつらおとなるまでは走れや走れ者ともに滴る汗を光らせて名どてたゆとことやる